Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Trisha Petito. This is the second week of our series called the 12 Weeks of Christmas. This week we will be doing a slimline card. I will be using both of these items. First, the thin cuts that are the star cluster. I will be also using the stamp and thin cuts. These are actually mini garden gnomes, and I'll be showing you how we'll be turning them into little Christmas gnomes instead. Both of these items were from our most recent collection from the National Stamping Month. It's called Slimline Celebration. It's a wonderful collection of several slimline thin cuts and stamps that work wonderfully not only for card making but also scrapbooking. We'll be using these slimline cards. What's nice about the slimline cards is you can utilize ones that are already pre-made like I am showing. These are actually business style cards and envelopes that you're probably familiar with in the past. But if you wanted to cut them yourself, the cardstock would be 7 by 8.5. So when they're closed, they're 3.5 by 8.5. Or you can buy them pre-cut for you like I just showed. These are the papers we'll be using. These are from the Mixing collection from the September to October catalog. The first 3 are more fallish and the last 3 are more Christmas. I'll be using some of the Christmas paper. These are found on page 24 of the seasonal catalog. I went ahead and cut papers for a different project and I had scraps. So that is all I am using in this project. I just pulled a bunch of scraps out and made sure they were 3 inches wide. I'm going to go ahead and adhere them. There was no rhyme or reason to this, believe it or not. I just wanted a nice neutral background, and I knew that the width of the card is 3.5 inches, and I went ahead and started gluing them down. Different random sizes, all with the same theme of Christmas. So I went with greens and reds and a little bit of the toffee brown. Started at the bottom and worked my way up. Please also remember that our cardstock from Close to My Heart has 2 different colors. The one side is more the darker or the true color. The other side is 1 shade lighter. So be aware of this, and as you're gluing your papers down, always check to make sure you're happy with what side you are picking. As you can see, as I glue mine down, I always check, and sometimes I even compare it to the other papers that I'm using to make sure I'm liking which hue that I am picking. As I go up the paper, I am just butting each piece against the next. This particular paper was from the Mix-In paper pack I just showed you. Both sides were very pretty, but I decided to go with just a plain red and white gingham. So as you can see, I do have a little white strip at the top. I did not measure these pieces, I just knew they were 3.5 inches wide. So I'm going to use one of our zip strips, which is just a little decorative piece from the top of our paper. I was planning on putting this somewhere else on the card, but it is a perfect little fixer for my boo-boo at the top, since have just a little tiny sliver showing, so that worked out nicely. And there we go, that is my base. Once again, no rhyme or reason, just a bunch of strips or scraps from a previous project. Now I'm going ahead and showing you what I did with that thin cut from the star cluster. Now this does fit on every single die cutting machine out there. If you position it just right, even on the Cricut Cuttlebug, if you position it just right, it fits perfectly. There is no need to move or change it around. I picked some gold and some green glitter cardstock that we have available from Close to My Heart. Figured it would match my papers beautifully. And as you can see, I am showing you how I cut it twice, but I was worried I was going to lose all my little stars or get them mixed up. So as I cut them out, took them out of my die cutting machine, I placed them onto a scratch piece of paper over the side in the position that they came out of the star. So that way, as I go to glue them down, I won't have them all mixed up. As you can see, I did this twice, so I actually have the exact same pieces in the reverse. So I can do this card one more time and just have the green background with the gold stars if I wanted to. Always make sure to get your negative pieces out. So I'm just going around and putting a little tiny bit of glue on each of the stars. I'm trying not to put too much, so when I go to put it down, I won't have excess glue sticking out and getting all over my card. I can always put a little bit more, but it is hard to take it away once it's gotten everywhere. So as you can see, these thin cuts are made specifically for the Slimline cards. They fit perfectly on there with just a little room to spare at the top and the bottom. I loved how this fit nicely. You can use these also on a scrapbooking page, which looks nice as well. As you can see, because I thought ahead and I was worried about not knowing which stars went where, I have these all ready to go, and all I have to do is put a little glue on them and glue them right where they belong. I kind of have them already pre-laid out, so I didn't have to worry about trying to figure out which one fit where. I would highly recommend you do that. No stress later on when you go to adhere them. I'm using Tombow glue. I don't think there's any need to worry about which kind of glue you're using for these. Whichever glue you prefer. Now, as you see, I did not realize as I was punching it out that there is a little tiny bit of that star that I just placed that is missing, but it's no worry because I'm going to be putting the little gnomes on, so I will probably place my little gnome there to cover up that little spot. So we will utilize that spot, no problem. Now I'm just filling these stars in. Now I didn't have to fill these stars in. I could have done something else. It did look beautiful with just those gold stars, but I really like this double look with the gold and the green. As you can see, it really makes it pop with the two different colors. Like I said, I am using glitter paper. You could have done this with holographic paper or just another color cardstock. You can get very creative with this, but the gold and green glitter cardstock really made it pop, especially for that Christmas look. Now I am just picking these up with my fingers. I could do this also with the little tweezers that we have. That would have made it easy as well. I find that our glitter cardstock is a nice thick cardstock, so it's not hard to pick up. So I just went ahead and did all of this with my fingers. As you can see, this is going together very quickly for a Christmas card. It seems like it's a difficult Christmas card to put together, and it actually isn't. This is super easy and fun, especially since this was all done with scraps. These are spare scraps that were in a bag. I just randomly put them down. Even the glitter cardstock was scraps. It wasn't even a full page. All you need is about 3 inches wide to be able to do this thin cut. And there we go. That is our final star that we're putting on. And as you see, that is absolutely gorgeous card just like that. You could put a sentiment on the front or just leave it as is and put your sentiment in the middle. but I really wanted to show off the adorable gnome stamp set and add them on here. So this is the gnome stamp set I use, which actually says mini garden gnomes. And so I picked all the little characters. I think the only one I didn't use was the one holding a sign because I wanted my sentiment on the inside. So I went ahead and pre-colored these. I went ahead and used our tri-blend markers. I checked all my colors to make sure they matched my paper. I picked the dark red, the earth brown, the fair skin, as well as the dark green as well. I believe it was alpine green, correct? Yes. Did want to mention, I did start using the black from the Spectrum Noir, but I find that the tip of the black was so thick that it was messing up my gnomes. So instead, I started using that journaling pen and used that for their little belts, as well as the little tiny areas for their boots and their buckles. So keep that in mind. You can use that for very, very small areas because even though the markers have very fine tips, sometimes they're just not fine enough. So that little area that I messed up on, I must have thrown the glitter away. No issue. I'm going to go ahead and put my little girl gnome right over that. You will never even know that I missed that spot. I'm going to go ahead and glue these right to the page so it's flush with the page. And since this is a swing, I'm going to work on finding one of these stars that I can shove it under the star. I have a tendency that if I bend it back just a little bit, you can usually shove it under previous items. Although you have to be careful because as I was doing this, I found that my paper was bending a little bit. So just be cautious with that. But it worked out beautifully. I wanted her to look like she was swinging amongst the stars. So I wiggled it into the place where I liked it. Once I get her situated, and we're going to work on where we're going to put our other guys on here. There's two other gnomes. There's the one that's just standing there with his hands on his hips and the one that looks like he's walking. I did do two of the one, but I want to spread them out so they don't look like they're right next to each other. I figure out the exact place I want him. So I kind of played around, figured out where I was happy where they would be. I wanted them to look like they were spread on the card, kind of walking up the stars. Then I realized that the one that was walking in the middle, he was going to be right over the glitter. And I think I've mentioned this before. When they are on glitter, they have a tendency, the glue doesn't do very well on top of our thick glitter. We have wonderful glitter paper. I love that we can play with our glitter paper even on our Cricut machine and it doesn't get glitter everywhere. It does not come off easily at all. I show this to people all the time and our glitter paper is such high quality. So when I want to adhere something straight to the top of our glitter paper, I use the 3D foam tape as you see here, and it adheres it much nicer, and you don't have to worry about it coming off like you would just regular glue. So I did that I ended up doing that for both the girl on the swing as well as the gnome that was walking. And then the other three, I just glued them straight to the page because I had a spot where they were stuck right to the cardstock. And there you go. That is our finished project. I'll zoom it in here so you can see up close. How cute is that? And I decided just to leave it as it is with the glitter. It is enough bling, and it will fit into your Slimline envelope, which is the same as a business envelope, just like that. And then you can put your Christmas sentiment on the inside. And there we have it. There's our finished project, ladies. A simple, easy, but beautiful Christmas card that you will make with just scraps. I hope you were inspired by today's card, and I appreciate you stopping by and spending time with me. Be sure you hit that subscribe button and join me next week for the next video in my 12 Weeks of Christmas series. Bye.